This has been a really imaginative exercise for me. I've never done anything but expository writing. And so having the discipline of the panels turned out to be extremely important to me. And it gave me a reason to just read many fairy tales, legends, the old stories I was able to read. And the beginning of this, Kirsten Heine asked me once if I would design something for her mom. And I wanted to do this one. This was some years back. It's Sophia. And I've had Sophia in my mind ever since I read this, Does Not Wisdom Lift Her Voice in Proverbs? Maybe some of you know that one. It really packed a punch with me. And so that's my framework. Somehow Sophia made her way into the framework of my comics. I don't quite know how that happened. I feel like it was sort of like getting carried away by the boat like Calder did. And following the Primstav, I've been doing that for so long now. And people have always asked me, people are always interested in the Primstav. I even tried to teach it, but there just isn't anything really to teach about the Primstav. It's a calendar. And so that's why I thought this would be a way where I could actually bring the Primstav with me through series. So the next one is, let's see, the next slide is, oh, yes, I really do love books. I've been a book fanatic forever. And this was a painting that I did that I kind of wanted to show you where I live. And I don't really have a red room. It's more gold. But my inspiration for this was Kristen Lavren's daughter many years ago, and then all the other study that I've done on the Primstav. Okay, next. This is another painting that I did on the 1996 series. I really learned to paint from watching from Knut Knudsen's work, and they were wonderful compositions. And I kind of took some different pieces together. It reminded me of where I thought Calder's family lived. The little boy's family were boat builders somewhere on the coast of Rogaland. And I feel like I can just almost smell the smell of the boathouses and the cold water and rocks. The next one has the star painting. And even though that is more of a tapestry element that I wanted to show you that I got from an Agat Nas book that was a big inspiration to me, her Norwegian tapestries. I'm also taking a diversion to tell you about Scott McCloud, who is a really important. He wrote a book called Understanding Comics, and it was done in comic form, but it was he showed the inner guts and structure of comics. So anybody who's interested in that, it's a really great book. But one of the things I learned that stayed with me was the space between the panels in comics are extremely important because they give you a chance to, your brain fills in the story between the panels. And so it gives a sense of momentum and investment for the reader that I never would have understood that, even though people instinctively use the panels, they don't. He analyzed what was it that makes them so powerful. So Andrew coached me about this of all of us need to kind of learn how to read graphic novels. Us narrative hounds have to slow our hunger and take the scenic drive and look at everything on the page. The artist placed it there for a reason. And then this makes you bring your own imaginative work to the story, like a movie that we're filming collaboratively. So next, okay, I wanted to show you some of the kinds of work that I do. So that's a platter that has the March 12th kind of early spring equinox sign, because the Julian calendar will make sort of confusing things in the Primstav. So, but I love that symbol so much that I used it quite a bit, especially the waves, I think, are another tapestry element. And on one of my first visits to the Vesterheim in the 80s, I picked up this Gausdal Shirk Academy's Primstav calendar book. And I have been studying this one. It's a really good one. And it's actually over the years become almost a spiritual practice. And I realized today, I don't know why it's taking me so long that it really is a liturgical calendar. But yes, it's so earthbound for me that I'm always noticing the days of the year, and if there's a Primstav symbol that connotes that, and if it's close in meaning to what the Norwegians would have been doing at that time of year in different places. My family thought it was odd that I had this great interest in Norwegian folk art, but I had an intuitive insight that there were synchronicities between this artistic work and the Irish and certainly the Vikings interaction. But I think that there was interaction for a long time between the Irish and the Norwegians as they shared that common outer coast of the North Atlantic. Okay, next is, I wanted to show you my first comic books in my class with the brilliant Sophia Glock, who is a nationally known now. She wasn't when she started mentoring me, but she's a really, really good graphic artist. Her latest is called Passport. And this had these three women, wise women, that I've always been fascinated by the three wise women that occur in different ways. And the Norns, there's hardly anything really, known about them, but they're so intriguing. So they kind of made their way into my thinking, so that when it came time to do a comic book, then I wanted to make sure that I included this concept too. So let's see the next one. Oh, Sophia. Let's see, which one is that? Okay. Oh, the Sophia prologue. Okay. Yeah. So 3 years after my course with the comics with Sophia, I was finally ready to tell a story of the Primstav and Sunniva that I had been so long brooding on. I applied for a regional arts grant and asked Sophia to be my mentor, which was a really very good idea. And I needed to call it a comic book instead of a graphic novel, because the graphic novels kind of scare me off a little bit. But comic book sounded like, hey, it's a comic book. I can do anything. There's no rules for comic books. So she told me the most important things. Her expectations were to make it cohesive, visually interesting, narratively compelling, and historically illuminating, so to speak, because she knew I wanted to include elements of design. So the next thing in the, let's see, with the next one. Oh yeah, this tapestry I did back in the early 80s. I started it. No, I guess it was later than that. But I was just one of my very first weavings after I took a class from Greta Bodegard Heikes, who was a really good Norwegian tapestry. She was a professional. That's the story of Sunniva. And I started it before we went to study in Norway and finished it up when we got back. And I love it. It still is an important piece to me, even though the technique is truly wretched. It is a wonderful image that I treasure. And then I just found this really interesting sculpture of Sunniva carrying her bundle of rocks. There's different things. Anyway, so those were, yes. In also 2017, that was an important year for me to get things moving. I asked Lorraine Gilbertson for her help to preview the Primstav and tapestry collections in the Vesterheim. My plan was to do a series of paintings based on tapestry elements, and that, and also a series of Primstav prints, which I have had a lot of fun with. And the process of, oops, I got lost on here. Okay, just a second here. Let's just say that. So, yeah, anyway, so that I'm going to just go on because that's what I had a really good session there. And then the winter side of the, with the mittens here. Let's see. I continuously looked for a different symbol for the mitten is a very important Primstav date because it's October 13th or 14th, and it's the beginning of winter. And most of the time there's alternative versions of symbols. And, the mitten one was so, it didn't have that sort of magical of, oh, I don't quite understand what this symbol means. It was so obvious. It was a mitten all the time. And it's always a mitten. I've never seen any other symbol for that date. And then I started to think how wonderful the humble mitten is, and what a wonderful symbol it is of Norwegians really culture, for the how to survive in the North. And so then after I got started on the comic book project, it was COVID, and we were locked down, and I really enjoyed the process of researching. I had never done, I love the internet and I'm constantly on it, but I never had a targeted research project with it like this one, where it was such a good place to see visual as well as written records. I found lots of treasures there and got lost. And I found out about insular art and the age of saints in Ireland, in the early years before they really had much contact with other cultures. Norwegian boats and Irish currach designs, thatch and rock architecture, ancient rock carvings, and calligraphic fonts, which I've always been interested in, climate patterns, maps, immigration patterns, sacred wells. It was just a huge, interesting place to be dwelling during the lockdown. And okay, we can go to the next one. I developed my characters. The Sunniva, Columba, and Bridget saints were all Irish saints on the Primstav. That was a curiosity to me. And Calder was my own invention. He was along for the ride, and his journeys carried the calendar stick that told their stories. So let's see what's else. Oh, yes, this Christopher Wiested is a hero of the Primstav for me. I searched and searched and searched for more of his resources. I first came across him in his Gamla Bondeculture book, but I did find something about that even mentioned Bridget saving some sailors at sea off the west coast of Norway. So that was like, aha! I knew there was some connection between Bridget and Norway, and Christopher Wiested delivered it to me. That was wonderful. And let's see, the next one is Insular Art. Highly recommend this book. It was a wonderfully scholarly discussion of it and the period around that time. And these wonderful, that is, I think of Columba, that wonderful sort of icon looking illustration from a manuscript. So yes, and the last one is these wonderful topics, these eremites, hermits, anchorites, pilgrims, holy mystics, the incredible stories of the Irish response to early Christianity and its impulse to want to surrender and be martyred somehow. It was kind of frightening, really, to read what they would do. Like this one old monk stood every day in cold river water up to his neck, just as a penance. And when you think of them throwing themselves into boats and just saying, "Take me, Lord, take me anywhere," into the cold waters, it was an amazing story that I still want to live in. I'm hoping to go back, and some of my good resources for that were Thomas Bois' book, Sanctity in the North, and Nora K. Chadwick's. I highly recommend. She was a really good scholar in before World War II and a little and beyond. And her Age of Saints is what really was wonderful for me to open up the Age of Saints. So that's the beginning, and the end. I'm lured in further. I've been listening to other people who are interested in storytelling. Are kind of waking up to the power and potential of these old saint stories that are mighty peculiar, but they have a lot of imaginative scope. So thanks.